that death didn't happen. None of that happened to them. And
welcome back to our channel, everybody. Today we are talking about Bereaved Mother's Day. What does bereavement mean? I was just thinking of the word. And what is the definition of that? Bereavement. Should I Google it?
get in the good old Googs.
The Googs.
Pull up the Googs.
Google. Imagine doctors Googling these days. This is bad.
I don't know if it's just
doctors
me
do Google these days.
They do.
It's awful.
I asked my OB, I was like, how much thiamine can I take while pregnant? Because I didn't trust Google, and he sent me the Google answer. I was like, bro.
Not the Google answer.
And the doctors go,
He
don't
copied
go on
and
Google.
pasted
Don't look
it.
up on Google.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me check on. Isn't there like a website where doctors can look at where it's like you put in keywords and it's like they could possibly have this?
WebMD symptoms.
I
Yeah.
hate that. WebMD.
I know, I'm
there
like
you go.
fighting a cold right now, and I'm like WebMDing myself at midnight last night. I'm like, is it just a common cold or am I dying?
So you're meaning to tell me I spent $135 for my doctor to look up in WebMD? Imagine that. To be deprived of a loved one through a profound absence, especially due to the loved one's death. For people who don't know what Bereaved Mother's Day is, it is mothers who are mourning their children's death. And also just realizing that whether they have children or not, they're still bereaved mothers. And so I've even seen people who've said, why is there two different days, and why does a bereaved parent get two of them with the bereaved and also regular Mother's Day?
Oh, yeah.
And that's why.
My mother actually asked that, was why do you get two Mother's days? Because one of my kids died. And it's too painful to celebrate him on actual Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you want to have the second one?
For real.
I'm just saying, I would love to not have that be part of my history.
Right? I would love
Exactly.
to not have to have two Mother's Days.
It's not something to be jealous of.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not something to envy. Why do you get to celebrate both? Trust me, if I could choose the latter, I would gladly just choose to celebrate the one. But I can't bring my baby back to life. So here we are.
Oh, I have a question. Is there a Bereaved Father's Day?
There is, I don't know the date off the top of my head, but there is.
It's amazing. I'm sorry.
And I think there's a Bereaved Parents Day as well.
Oh, we should figure out what those are.
Double check me on that one.
Yeah.
Per Googs, Bereaved Father's Day is August 25th.
Okay.
That makes
Is it
sense.
always
I think
August 25th, or is it like the third weekend in August, fourth weekend in August, like Mother's Day?
It's on the last Sunday of the month.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the last Sunday of August. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there a Bereaved Parents Day? I'm pretty sure there is, but I might be wrong on that one. But
It's on the third. Oh, sorry. There is a Bereaved Parents Day, and it takes place on the third Monday of July.
Okay. Monday. Okay.
That's an interesting one. I wonder if there's a Bereaved Grandparents Day. That might be a stretch, but I'm just curious since we're Googling things.
National Bereaved Parent. No, it's just Bereaved Parents.
Oh.
There's a Grandparents Day.
Yeah.
I guess you guys knew that. There is grieving grandparents. I would say like we should have a grandparents episode, but goodness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of those grandparents
Oh, girl.
will not acknowledge my daughter at all, even though they were gifted some of her ashes. So there's that.
Mm.
My family has
That was also the same person who told my husband that he was not a father and that he hadn't earned celebrating Father's Day. So, things that you shouldn't say to bereaved parents.
I'm like, I have nothing to say to
Hashtag.
that. Nothing nice to say about that. Oh,
honestly,
good.
a bereaved father deserves to celebrate Father's Day more than some of the fathers I know. Just saying. Yeah, my family and Tim's family are under the idea that the twins are here now. Jensen doesn't matter. God forbid I talk about Dean.
So I know we were discussing how we didn't know this holiday until we knew loss.
So I actually didn't know what it was until last year, which was 2 years into being a bereaved mother. And I found out what it was because my mother was in the process of dying. And that was a difficult year last year. I found out from you guys. I was like, oh, that's a thing. That's cool. There's like a holiday that recognizes mothers that are bereaved.
Yeah. I think I found out from you guys too. I don't know who said that. When I think about it.
We got to do some detective work.
I think it was me who was the one who popped it in the group first because another lost mom that I'm friends with messaged me about it a couple weeks beforehand because she didn't know, so she wanted me to know for the first Bereaved Mother's Day.
Oh, okay. The mystery has been solved.
There you go. Exactly.
Shocking. I actually know something for once.
Like I said, last year was really hard because my mother passed away like a few days before Mother's Day last year. And I knew she was in the process of dying like the week before. So I didn't really celebrate because it was such a chaotic time. I had just gotten back from spending the month taking care of my mother while she was declining. And I just really, that was the first time I had ever heard of it. And I think the most that I did was I vlogged about it.
I don't think anybody who has experienced loss even know about this holiday. And even the ones who have expressed the holiday on their Facebook page or something, something that maybe they even brought up in conversation, feels like it gets brushed off a little bit, or it's not really as acknowledged regardless. Do you guys notice that too?
I noticed when I uploaded the vlog, I think I entitled it "Today is Bereaved Mother's Day," and then someone came in and said, "It's not Mother's Day, you idiot." And I was like, "Oh, how charming." Yeah,
Mm,
it's Bereaved Mother's Day.
yeah, do you hear that word, friends?
Yeah.
I think that's with anything though, is that they hear the word bereaved or they hear something stillbirth or something like that, and they just kind of like glaze past. Unless you've been through it or know somebody who's gone through it, you kind of like, I think, we mask over those words.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of how my dentist was asking me how many children I had, and I told him I had the one, but that his sister was stillborn the year prior, and he glazed over the stillborn part, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "Oh, it's so wonderful that they're so close in age." And I'm like, "Yeah." So
Mm.
I feel like people hear words that they're not familiar with, like stillborn or bereaved even, and they don't like it doesn't register.
It's just rough how this is still a taboo subject, just child loss in general. It's
Hmm.
really hard for people to talk about. Why don't we talk about the good old phrase, is this your first?
Love that one.
This one's good for, especially when it comes to Mother's Day. I feel like it's a big feel like that phrase is always touched on when they see Samuel, and that's it. Is this your first? How many children do you have? Those are
See, I won't tiptoe around people's feelings, and if they ask me a personal question, they are absolutely going to get a personal answer. So when someone asks me if Kieran is my first, I say no, he's actually my second. And then they'll even start looking around, like, oh, where's the other one, you know? And then I'll be like, yeah, she's not here. And they'll be like, oh, how much older is she? I was like, she was stillborn in 2021. And sometimes, like I said, they don't hear the stillborn part. And then they
You're
ask,
like,
oh, is she with family or something? Or was she at daycare? And no, she passed away. And then it gets really awkward.
right,
I'm like, well, I mean, you asked.
right. Has there ever been a time where it wasn't awkward in your
Yeah.
interactions with that question?
Yeah, there has been times. I think I was getting a new cell phone because my cat knocked it off the counter and broke it. Of course. And the lady was asking about Kieran because we had him with us. And she asked, is he your first? And I told her, no, he has a sister that passed away in 2021. And the whole like room got silent. Everybody at the desk that was like trying to get cell phones and stuff like looked over, like, oh God. And then the woman that asked me the question, I was like, yeah, I just don't want to not acknowledge my daughter. And she's like, I understand. I have a niece that passed away at 10 months old. So it was like, it was, I mean, obviously death is never nice, but it was nice to talk to somebody who got it.
That's really nice to hear when people are able to connect like that.
Mm.
I've had that a couple of times myself where they would ask and I would tell them and they would say, "Oh my gosh, my first child actually passed away." And it sparks conversation and also it helps that mom or whoever you're talking with like be able to acknowledge that child, and it's really exciting for them honestly to be able to talk about them because then it sparks what's her name, what was
Yeah.
how far along were you, or what was the story, and it's just it really is a cool thing to be able to connect with people, but at the same time you do get those harsh moments where it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's super awkward.
Yeah.
Me and Kelsi kind of have it on the other end where it's kind of sandwiched in the middle, So
Oh, do
I
you get how many kids do you
Yeah.
yeah,
have?
so we get
Yeah.
the how many kids. We talk about my bereavement group a lot on like it's okay to decide who to divulge that information to. Like you don't always have to, and you don't have to feel like if you're not telling them about your stillborn child that you're not giving acknowledgement to them and that you're denying their existence and stuff like that. You're just protecting your own mental health and your own sanity, which is a great way to look at it. I, for myself, have chosen, since her birth, that I would not exclude her. I didn't care how uncomfortable it made anybody else feel. If you're bothered by it, then you don't have to be around me. You can walk away. I have to still go home to her pictures up on my wall and visit her gravesite. That is my reality. You get to go home and forget we ever had this conversation. I don't. And I've gotten in the habit lately is I only divulge that she was stillborn to certain people. That's where I kind of like block myself because some days I'm not ready to get in the conversation of it. Because some days I'm like, especially after everything I've been through, I never used to cry. This year I have cried more times than I probably have my entire life. I'm a ball of emotions. So like lately, especially, I'm just like, yeah, I've got an 8-year-old, I've got a 6-year-old, I've got a 5-year-old, I have a 2-year-old, and I have a 1-year-old. And I just leave it at that because I do. They don't need to know. And some people, again, I will talk to about her death, but not everybody deserves to know. And then occasionally, if I have like my, youngest with me, And I'll be like, oh, I have a 2-year-old, you know, and oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom or whatever the case may be. They'll be like, oh, where's big sister? Then I may, because they've now, you know, prodded into it, kind of like you,
Mhm.
Steph. It's just like, well, if you're gonna prod in, just be prepared for the real answers. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie to you, you know? So, but yeah, I get the how many kids do you have? So it's always fun navigating those conversations. And you just have to pick and choose the moments that are right for how to tell your story. Not everybody is allowed to know the full story if you don't want them to.
Mhm.
Exactly. I remember this was right after Mother's Day, right after I lost Maddie. I remember we went out for Mother's Day because I could not handle being at home. I was just having a really tough time with first Mother's Day without my daughter. And so we went out to Houston and they had a Mother's Day brunch in the hotel that we were staying at. And I was like, of course. And I'm sitting at the table having the brunch with Matt, and, and I start crying, and Matt's like, it's okay, I'm here." And one of the waitresses came up and she was like, "Oh, are you celebrating Mother's Day today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we are." And they're like, "Oh, well, where's your kids?" And I told her that, I had a daughter and she passed away. And luckily it was met with an awkward stare, but then she said, "Oh, well, happy Mother's Day and I'm sorry for your loss." And so that alone was like, I'm so glad you said that and acknowledged that I'm still a mother. Thank you. Um, but I do remember there was one time I didn't acknowledge her. There was one time that I was asked if I had any kids, and I said no. And I remember Matt was there with me, and the heartbreak that I could see in his face tore me up on the inside. And I was like, I can't do that anymore. I have to acknowledge her. And so ever since then, I just can't do that anymore. So even if it's met with awkward conversations, I still have to acknowledge that she is my daughter and we have two. What are some ways that you celebrate your angel babies?
Every maternity session that I do, I have my daughter's urn and her photograph in some of the photos. So I mean, not every family photo session, but definitely for all the maternity where it's like the whole family has to be together, I want her to be in those photos. And ooh, just got a little emotional. I celebrate her birthday every year. I make her a cake every year. I decorate the house for her every year. And I know that when I did that for her first birthday, when my mother was still alive, my mom appreciated that so much. And she said, I really like that. Can we please do that every year? And I was like, hell yeah, we can do that every year. And now my mom passed away. And so my daughter was actually born July 13th and my mom was born July 14th. So we kind of do like a joint birthday for them every year. So I get an ornament every year.
Mm-hmm.
I named my small business after her,
And what's your business name?
Kaya and Kieran.
That's so cute.
So all of our kids have animals that are associated with them. When I got pregnant with my daughter, before I even knew she was a girl, you know, before we knew what we were having and all that stuff, I was just like, her name will be Everly Danielle, and her animal would be a hedgehog. So when she passed away, we fast ordered on Amazon. I have one sitting, these little hedgehog plushies. So we ordered one for everybody in the immediate family so that they always have her available. Um, and I probably slept with this hedgie every night for months and months and months and months. Now I'm able to just kind of keep her beside me. She also has a hutch in my dining room. Um, that my mom helped me purchase for her. And it's got hedgies galore, and it's got her name, and it's got her hand mold and her foot mold, and her handprints and footprints, and um, all those little mementos. Because we have our other children, we incorporate her in all our family photos. We bring one of her picture frames, we bring a hedgehog, and we usually kind of hide the hedgehog somewhere in our photos, or one of my kids will be holding a big hedgehog, or we'll be holding the photo. So she's there some way, somehow. And then we incorporate her. We do a birthday. So we usually will go to her gravesite for her birthday. I get a smash cake made for her every year. And I get little hedgehog cookies. And we'll sit as a family at her gravesite, and we'll enjoy the cookies, and we'll sing her happy birthday, and we cut her cake, and we spend 30 minutes to an hour there. And then for holidays, so when the Easter Bunny visits us, he brings an extra basket for her. But instead of it being gifts for her, it's one gift for each of her siblings. So Everly helps the Easter Bunny pick out a few gifts for her siblings. And then around Christmas time, Santa brings all of our kids their Santa gifts in a Santa sack that has their names on it, and then their stockings. So Santa brings the sack. Again, it's got 4 gifts, one for each kid, one of her siblings. So Everly helps Santa pick out the gifts. And then in her stocking again is 4 gifts for her siblings. So that way she helps. So she's in all of our stuff. We have ornaments up for her. We have a family tradition for our other kiddos where their Nana gets them a new ornament every year, up until they're 18. And then when they move out, they can either have the choice to have those ornaments, or like mom or Nana can hold on to them until they're ready for them. So my mom has gotten all their ornaments every year. Well, one thing that she didn't do is she got Everly's for her first year. She has not continued the years after, which really bothered me, but it's one of those topics that I'm like, I don't really want to bring this up. I don't want to get into it. So me and my husband have taken it upon ourselves that we order it. So that way we're still continuing that ornament every year. Because I didn't want her to be the only sibling being left out from that. And I know that it's probably not done maliciously. It's just one of those things that maybe my mom is trying to kind of guard her heart on. And I have to remind myself that we all have to guard our hearts the way that we need to. So while I took offense to it initially, I was like, as I kind of sat and processed it, I was like, it's okay. We'll continue on the tradition on our own, and that'll make it even more special. So we have a lot of ways that we kind of keep her around. Probably too much, but she's here. Oh, and then I renamed my business after her, so that's pretty big too. So I do photography in the state of Arizona, and it used to be Kylene Ayala Photography, which is my name. But after she passed away, it's now Evie Studios. So the studios it's hers. She will leave a legacy, and so anytime anybody books with me or comes into my studio session, they get to learn a little bit about her, and it raises awareness, and it helps keep her around.
I do pretty much all of that as well. So I feel like it's just natural when that's all you can do to keep them in presence with you. We do have a heartbeat hippo. It's got her heartbeat in it, and I do like to incorporate that into family photos. Yeah, it's just my way of showing her and that she's still a part of our family. I wish I got more photos of her. It was a lot in one day, so unfortunately I didn't get a lot of good photos of her. So the hippo is a symbol of her, and I think my family at this point knows that that's supposed to be her. So
The way I celebrate Jensen is on his birthday. I take like a little goodie basket with a handmade blanket and a couple baby toys, a couple outfits, stuff like that. But I take a little goodie basket to the hospital Jensen was born at, and I give it to the first baby that was born on June 28th.
Oh, that's sweet.
Then I have a bear with Jensen's heartbeat in it. It has the same rainbow that's on his urn. It's got that on its stomach with his name, and that's in all of our family photos. Any kind of photos we go get, he is there. A lot of it is, I also do the blankets for stillborns in honor of Jensen. But I don't really, I wish he could be around more in the day-to-day. Otherwise, I do a lot of the same stuff, like a Christmas ornament. We make a cake for him on his birthday every year, get cupcakes.
Hear me out. I think it would be really cool if we talked about pregnancy cravings and just some really lighthearted things about our angel babies in light of Bereaved Mother's Day, just kind of reminiscing on our angel babies because we don't ever get to do that. I think we should talk about pregnancy cravings with our angel babies. I'll start. Macaroni and cheese and pizza.
I am a lightweight when it comes to spicy food. Like mild salsa brings me to tears. I am as white girl can get. When I'm pregnant with any of my babies, I crave like a hot salsa, hot enchilada, Mexican food. So I'm always scarfing down buffalo wings and hot enchiladas, and so I'm always craving spicy stuff when I'm pregnant with his babies. Probably that whole DNA genetic stuff going through, and then cereal. Late night snack, 10, 11 o'clock at night in bed, big old belly, all my babies asking Tanny, can you go make me a bowl of Fruity Pebbles? Can you go make me a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? I had to have a bowl of cereal every night before I went to bed, which really sucked when I was gestational diabetic with my boys. It was the same with all of my babies.
Yeah. I craved Wingstop a lot with Jensen, and then cheese curds. I swear I had cheese curds like 5 times a week.
We did hot wings too, often. The hottest that they could make them. Like we were on the hot ones.
Yes. Wow.
That was actually the last thing I ate before she died. And I remember I couldn't eat it for the longest time because it's one of my favorite foods. But and we also blamed her passing on eating hot wings. When you're searching for reasons.
Why?
For reasons, yeah.
But it's no, there's no way that the hot wings killed her. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I have a whole story that I built up on what happened with Maddie and why I killed her. It's wild.
Well, even I have a friend who's pregnant now, and her mom is and it's her second. So it's not like she hasn't done it before, but she's just you need to drink more water, and if you're not eating healthy, the baby could get all these problems or pass away or stuff like that. And I'm just sitting here, I'm messaging her, nothing that I ate or didn't drink enough of is not the reason why Everly is dead. Do not sit there and let your mom feed you with all of this.
Blame.
Yeah, you're not, because her mom's just don't eat junk food, and don't eat a Reese's cup, and don't eat this. And I'm just eat your damn Reese's cup. Your Reese's cup is not going to kill your child.
Mm-hmm.
And I will on my grave with that. A Reese's cup is not going to kill your child.
I made my mom lose 18 pounds, and I am fully comprised of SpaghettiOs and no prenatals at all.
You're telling me a daily dose of Kraft mac and cheese and Papa John's pizza didn't do anything? I'm kidding. No, I know.
Craft.
Yeah,
I love craft.
oh gosh, it's amazing. Bereaved Mother's Day is really just reminiscing about your children who've passed. So I know Maddie had a 1 a.m. fiesta every single night. She would pick everything.
We were in like a huge anime binge watching phase. Not that we like still don't watch anime, but like we were binge watching. We were binge watching Fairy Tale and then My Hero Academia. And both of those have like kind of like fight scenes and stuff like that. And I really during the fight scenes would like be kicking and I'm like, oh, you're getting involved. I'm like, she's gonna be our little anime watcher with you.
Yes. He lives for the anime.
We used to play whack-a-mole with Kaya's feet. It was so adorable. I had a posterior placenta, so my placenta was in the back, and all of her movements, she was very much a mover, a lot more than my son or this current baby. Like my whole belly, like you could see almost the footprint. Like that's how much she would kick.
Wow.
And we would like grab it, and then she would like pull it away, and then she'd go over there, and like we just like chase her feet around on the belly. That was one of my favorite memories, like playing with her while she was in the womb like that.
That's so cute.
That's one of the things we used to do with all of my babies too. Is like if we had a foot, my husband would like come up and like tickle it through my belly, and they'd pull it back so fast.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Used to go on drives to go do things like go to the beach or go get dinner somewhere far away that was like out of town because we lived in, crazy Los Angeles, so we'd go up to like Ventura or something. And she would get wild with the music, and I'd be sitting in the car and I'd be like, I can't really like adjust, like stretch the way I need to make it more comfortable.
That's cute. I know Maddie's favorite song of all time was Don't Fence Me In by, oh gosh, I forgot his name. But yeah, she was obsessed with it every time I would play it. And it was specifically always that song. I don't know if it was the beat, maybe in the car that she could feel, but heavy reaction. I'm just like, "Oh, okay, let's jam out to this."
We listened to a lot of Tool and Nine Inch Nails
Mm.
and Smashing Pumpkins. And then our favorite when we were riding around the car, because Cameron knew all the words to it too, is Tenacious D songs. So
Oh,
we did a lot of
that's
Tenacious D in the car with Kaya.
funny. Oh,
I guarantee Cameron and I are introverted. Our son's introverted. In the way she's acting, I'm assuming she's introverted, but Kaya would have been our extrovert for sure. Like, probably would have made me wait several years to have more. You know what I mean? Like, I guarantee she would have been like worse pterodactyling than her brother. Chaos, pure
wild
chaos.
child.
Yeah.
Kaya was gorgeous. I think she looked like
Mhm.
you, but maybe that's just my
Like, I feel like she definitely was like a carbon copy of me, but she had Cameron's coloring.
Mhm. Yeah.
And when
And
Kieran
his
was
hair.
born, yeah. And when Kieran was born, he looked like Cameron, but was my coloring. It was just so weird how the genetics flipped like that.
I think for us, when Everly was born, her entire pregnancy, she wouldn't let us see her face. The day before she passed away, we got an ultrasound. We finally saw her little face. I'm like, well, you look like your sister, her older sister. I'm like, you look like just like your sister. And my oldest daughter, Kalaya, she's stunning, and like I'm biased, sure, but like she's gorgeous. And when she was born, I'm just like staring at her and all of her photos and staring at her in general, and I'm just like, she looks just like Kalaya. They were born like what 4 years and 2 days apart, so they both share a birthday in September. And so I have like my memories on Facebook that pop up, and they're of Kalaya, and Everly was the spinning image of her big sister. So while I sit and I'm just like, I get to, relive those moments of Kalaya, I also sit there and I mourn because Everly would have been looking just like her. So sometimes that's kind of hard.
I see Maddie and I'm like, she would have been my mini me, but then I see her, I keep looking at her photos, I'm like, who am I kidding? She would have looked exactly like Matt. And she probably would have been exactly like him because we did name her after him. His name is Matthew Louis Belk, and her name is Madeline Louise Belk. And so it was like a play on just, gender. And so we always talk about how, because the genetic counselor did say that she was incompatible with life. I hate that. But anyways, that she should have been a miscarriage in the first trimester. And I'm like, but yet here she is outside of the womb, surviving 13 hours. You go, queen. And so we talk about how she's our warrior and how she probably would have been in the military. She probably would have had a extreme voice.
It would have been
Definitely
a
would have spoken
badass.
up. Oh yeah. Front lines, everything. So we just talk about how she was our strong baby girl.
One of those women that break those glass ceilings and move those mountains for sure.
Can't convince her of anything.
No.
I have been very lucky to have family who acknowledges her pretty often. Um, my in-laws actually were the ones that stayed back with her when I couldn't, and they saw her pass away. And they have their own set of like emotions that they have to filter through. And so there's traditions that they do even outside of us, They take her traveling, they carry a little vial of her hair with, in like a locket in their on a necklace. And so my father-in-law, who was like, I'll never get tattoos, literally got one on his arm of her birthday. And so I am really thankful that like I have a family that talks about her quite often. Um,
It's one of those times where we get to acknowledge our babies, and when somebody does even the smallest thing to help us acknowledge our babies, it means the world to us.
It really does, because I mean, I don't talk about this publicly, but I have 4 brothers and 2 of them will not acknowledge my daughter. Like, she doesn't exist. That pregnancy didn't happen. That death didn't happen. None of that happened to them. And the brothers that do acknowledge it are so wonderful. And one of them, he didn't talk about it much with me, but when I became pregnant with my current pregnancy, he said, I'm so excited for baby number 3. Like, just acknowledging that this is my 3rd child meant so much to me.
It just gives so much validity, and just acknowledge our babies. That's not all any bereaved mom can ask. You want to know what to give us on Bereaved Mother's Day, or you don't know what to say, just acknowledge our babies. Acknowledge that they existed. Acknowledge that they matter. Acknowledge that our pain and our loss is real. Yeah, that's the best thing that you can give a bereaved mother, is just the acknowledgement that their baby mattered, that their pregnancy mattered.
That they lived.
Yeah, because they did.
The validity and just acknowledging our children because that's all we have. We will never be able to talk about It's something that we have to literally hold internally until someone brings it up or even asks the questions for us to be able to talk about it. And that's what makes it so hard, because it's something that we're having to hold until, we pass on. And so just the acknowledgement of our babies existed is enough. That's all it takes. It doesn't have to be the gifts or anything, but just sending a message saying, hey, I'm thinking of you, or if you ever want to talk, or we can, whatever, and just opening that gate. And, they might not do it, but who knows? There might be people who want to talk about their children. So word. Just kidding.